Good morning, sunshines. Welcome to Theater Appreciation Online. Yay! I'm going to do my best to do some lectures from my notes. I'll also every day send you copies of notes. Hopefully I've already sent you a syllabus and also a play for you to analyze. So if it says this is your play to analyze and it says Oedipus Rex, for instance, then you need to, by the next time when we do Oedipus, have your analysis, and we'll talk about what that is in a second, done for that day. Now, even though, for instance, you may not have been assigned Oedipus to present or to analyze, you still will be responsible for having read the play, yes? We'll have a couple of tests, and each test is going to have two sections. One will be some multiple choice questions based upon the lectures that I'm going to give, and then there'll be a second section which is an essay question, short answer essay, 4 or 5 sentences in response to the question. We'll talk much more about that when I give you the review sheet. But you just need to respond to the questions that I present. Really, and I mean this, there's no right or wrong answer on the essays. I'm not trying to trick you. All I'm trying to do with the essay questions is have you to express your opinion about the plays we're watching or reading, and then defend your views with examples from the text. So you can like them or not like them. If you don't like the play, great. Say, I hated Oedipus Rex. It bored me to tears. Why did it bore you to tears? What about it? You don't like talking about death. Great. In Oedipus Rex, they talk about death a lot. If you enjoyed the play, if you think it had a meaning for you, great. What meaning did it have for you? Support whatever it is you're going to say. That's what I'm looking for, is your assertion. What you think about the play, not what I think about the play. During the course of the lectures, I will tell you what I think about the play. I understand that might influence what you think about the play. Feel free to disagree with me. And if you want to send me an email and say you disagree with me, I will pass it along to the rest of the class and maybe we'll have a discussion about these things. But the nice thing about the videos that I'm producing is that I can just say what I'm going to say and you can throw things at the screen or not. Hopefully these will be fun and entertaining lectures. There may be a couple of humorous pieces in them. I try and stay away from those too much because it is still an educational situation. But I also understand that this can be very boring, sitting here watching me talk for 2 hours, which I'm not going to do. Each video will be less than an hour, probably less than 45 minutes. And I will also send you the lecture notes along with them so that you can see what it is, follow along, and or just take notes from the videos themselves. Either way works fine with me. Yes? So you're going to have 2 tests. You're also going to have 2 written assignments. The first written assignment is your analysis of the play that I have sent to you with your syllabus. So each of you is going to have a different play to analyze. Again, you're still responsible for having read it for the class, for the essay questions on the test, but you're only going to have to analyze one of those plays, and it's the play that I sent to you when I sent you your syllabus. You don't have to answer these questions. I have given you a series of questions that if you don't understand what I mean by analyzing a play, if you just answer the questions, you will have analyzed the play. If you are somebody who is a senior in English education and know how to analyze a play, go ahead. You don't have to answer these. You will over time answer the questions that I'm asking. But feel free, if you don't want to just listen to this 5 minutes of the next part of the lecture, take a little nap, just read the play when you analyze it, go through and analyze the parts of it, 5-paragraph essay kind of thing, and send that back to me. I will take your analysis of the play and I will send it to the rest of the class to help them study for the exams when we get to that point. Cool? Now, this is, again, you can just go off on your own, 5-paragraph essay kind of thing analysis, or you can just sort of go through and answer these questions. Now, there may not be an answer to every single question, yes? For instance, it talks about one of the things you're going to answer is what the playwright's intent may be or who the playwright was. Well, if you happen to be assigned everyman, everyman has an anonymous author, so you don't know who the author was. Now, can you still speak to the intent of the author, whoever it was? Sure. Why do you think whoever was anonymous wrote this play? And why do you think they're anonymous? That could be an interesting question, yes? So again, you don't have to answer every specific question, but just those that you can answer as you go through the text. It'll give you a nice avenue to the analysis of each of these plays. First of all, we'll just talk about given circumstances. Given circumstances are what has already happened in the play that you need to know. So for instance, some plays are going to have a lot. Oedipus Rex has a lot. We'll talk about the Greek myth that it is involved in. There's just a lot of things that Greek audiences were expected to know about the character of Oedipus that you may not have known. Now, for instance, Harry Potter is an example. I'll just use him. There are 7 or 8 films on Harry Potter. If you're watching the 6th film of Harry Potter and you don't know what a Horcrux is, you might be a little lost. Yes? So given circumstances are just things that you need to know about the characters, about the play, about the circumstances. Every man, all happens right in front of you. It is a person who is approached by death. That all happens in the play. You don't need to know anything else about the person. You don't need to know the history. Everything in the play tells you everything you need to know about every man. So again, sometimes there are a lot of given circumstances, sometimes there are a few. One of the things you can easily analyze is how many scenes there are in a play. How many times do we change location, that sort of thing. What time of day is it? Again, sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes the play happens, for instance, in Hamlet, the play happens at dawn or right before dawn, pre-dawn. It's very important that it happens because the ghost of his dead father is going to appear, and there's a whole bunch of discussion about the sound of the morning bird, whatever it is, as opposed to the nightingale. You can also analyze what pieces you might need to perform the play. In other words, do you need refrigerators? Do you need couches? Do you need thrones? Do you need spears? What is it about the play that you need to perform it, and how these things occur? What is the dialogue in the play? What is said about the environment? What do people talk about? They talk about how beautiful a day it is, or how dark the sky is. Just comments that they may make about the environment to let you know what the environment is like. Anything that is mentioned in parentheses in a play is often the work of the stage manager, not necessarily the author. And so if something says something in parentheses, it doesn't necessarily have to happen. If it says it in dialogue, in other words, when Willie Loman says, I would like to have this newfangled cheese, this whipped cheese on my bread, because he is saying it, you have to do something about whipped cheese on bread. Now, if Linda, his wife, is just making him a sandwich, and in the notes it says makes a whipped cheese sandwich, it doesn't matter because nobody refers to it. But because dialogue is the only source of action, if it's said in the play, then it has to happen, or else you have to change the dialogue, which we'll say is not the legitimate way of going about things. Dramatic action, what are the actions of the play? Do they fight? Do they dance? Do they sit at a table and never move? What is the dramatic action in a play? How much movement is there? There's some scenes in the play where they may just sit. There were some scenes where they may be traveling from one place to another, into the woods. They're walking through the woods to grandma's house. So what is it about the play? What is the dramatic action in the play? Who are the characters? What is their relationship to each other? Are they tall? Are they fat? Are they skinny? They're old? They're young? What about each of the characters? How many characters are there? Again, the main characters you're going to find have a lot of information about them. The minor characters, for instance, in Oedipus, you're going to have a messenger. He brings a message. It doesn't say if it's a man, if it's a woman, if they're tall, young, short. He just comes in and says, I have a message. Here's the message. Thank you very much. So there's not a lot to learn about the messenger. But trust me, Oedipus has some large physical things that are very important about him that you can discuss. Jocasta, we'll talk about her and what her physical attributes may or may not be. But characters are just, how do you describe them in the play? Again, in parentheses, not so much, but definitely if there's any kind of dialogue about the character, that's the important thing as to who the characters are. All right, idea. What is the meaning of the title of the play? Trust me, if the author has titled the play something, Fences, for instance, is one of the plays we're going to read. Fences is about fences. Well, what does a fence do? Well, it keeps the world out, but it also fences you in. And that very much is a symbol for the play. Let's talk real quick while we're here about the difference between a symbol and an image. An image is something that's very fleeting. You're the apple of my eye. It's just a nice little something that gives you a suggestion. In A Doll's House, we're going to read Doll's House. He talks about how she's his little squirrel. He's not saying that she is a squirrel. He's just saying that there are certain things about her, the way she flips around and acts, that is squirrelish. Yes? Now, a symbol is a much larger definition. It's still an image, still something that conjures an idea in your mind, but it has a more broad-based understanding or meaning. For instance, the symbol for the United States is an eagle, a bald eagle. The symbol for Soviet Russia was the bear. Yes, everybody understands and appreciates what that symbol is, and so Reagan, when he was running for president, had this commercial where he showed this bear walking in the woods, and they said, not directly, but it was this threat of the Soviet Union that helped him get reelected, because he said there's this bear in the woods and we have to be prepared to fight the bear. So that's an example of how a symbol can be used. So we'll talk about what the difference between symbols and as far as metaphors are concerned later. What is the play about? What lesson is it trying to teach? Why did the author write the play? Was it just to entertain? That could well be. When we get to the importance of being earnest, he wrote it just to make fun, to have a good time, for audiences to come and laugh. Was there underlying meaning? Sure. It's about being earnest, sincere, yes, and how important that is. But really it's just to mock society. Other plays have, Angels in America has a definite point of view. There's a reason that he wrote that play, and it's because America failed in the pandemic that was AIDS. And again, we're suffering through something like that now. So whereas this is certainly a pandemic, it's not necessarily associated with any kind of sexual activity, whereas with AIDS was viewed as a disease that was only in the homosexual community. And so because of that, there was a lack in funding, a lack in research. And again, one of the reasons Tony Kushner wrote Angels in America was to point out the failings of the Reagan administration as far as that is concerned. What is it? A comedy? Is it a tragedy? That's easy. Does it make you laugh? Is it intended to make you laugh? Sometimes, for instance, Misanthrope, I can tell you, Tartuffe is one we're reading in this class. Tartuffe is certainly intended to be a comedy. Now, does it make you laugh? I don't know. You read it, you tell me. There certainly are plays that succeed. Oedipus Rex I'm going to tell you the tragedy. I'm not going to ruin anything for you, but it's a tragedy. Does it cause you to move you to tears? I don't know. You tell me. After you read it, you tell me if it moved you that way. So is it effective is another thing. And then the tempos. What is the pace of the show? Is it a fast-paced show? Is it a slow-paced show? And again, different characters may have different paces. Some characters, for instance, in Hamlet, you've got the father, the thinker, who is very slow-paced and slow-witted, and Hamlet is very quick-paced and quick-witted. And so the difference between the two creates bits of humor. Hamlet is not a comedy, but there are moments in Hamlet that are humorous, yes? So it's not all tragic, even though it is ultimately a tragedy. And then mood, what is the major atmosphere of the play? What are the textures? If there's some sort of dominant image or symbol in the play, for instance in Doll's House, the idea of her being a doll raised in a house, being played with by her husband and her father, is a very important symbol, a very important image, and very important mood in the play. The second type of written assignment is your research paper. Your research paper is going to be a 5-paragraph essay on your favorite actor. So I need you to respond to the email that I sent you your syllabus with, and tell me, A, I got the syllabus, B, my favorite actor is Cody Robertson, whoever your favorite actor is, and that'll be the person that you write your paper on for your 5-paragraph essay for your other paper. So 2 written assignments. One is your analysis of the play that I've assigned you, and one is your favorite actor who you have chosen to tell me that you're going to write your paper on. Again, it's due next Monday. These things come fast. But again, we're going to talk a little bit about how to write a 5-paragraph essay. This is what I expect from you when doing your analysis of your actor. First of all, don't let anybody know this. Wikipedia is fine with me. In your English classes, they're going to tell you it's the devil. You're going to start with Wikipedia. I start with Wikipedia. Everybody starts with Wikipedia. Wikipedia is fine. Now, a couple caveats. Wikipedia is a public encyclopedia, so people can go in and alter the pages of other people. So for instance, I don't know if you know who Jane Fonda is, but Jane Fonda is an American actress. Unfortunately for her, at least in the modern terms, she was viewed as a North Vietnamese sympathizer. In other words, during the Vietnam War, she traveled to North Vietnam and they paraded out these very nicely dressed, healthy prisoners of war. And she went about telling the world that the American prisoners aren't mistreated, they're being treated fine, which of course they were not. But she didn't know. But because of that fact, there are many people who even today have not forgiven her, call her Hanoi Jane, and if they are the last person to go through and edit her Wikipedia page, it will say some of the most atrocious things you've ever heard said about an individual. Now, if her publicist is the last person to go through and edit her page, she's one of the best actresses in the history of the world, has done nothing but good work for the communities, all this sort of stuff. So again, she is certainly a person who is can be a person of dissent on either side. Most people don't have that type of environment. But as you're going to Wikipedia, just be careful that the information on Wikipedia may not be as accurate as the information you might find in books and or magazine articles and other places, interviews, that sort of stuff. Again, this is sometimes hard to understand, but let's say that Mike Winkelmann wrote a book about Jane Fonda. And so I published this book and it's out there, and when you go to the Wikipedia page, it says as one of the sources at the bottom of the Wikipedia page that Mike Winkelmann, the Wikipedia article, is based on my book as well as other articles, other books. How many sources do you have if you have the Wikipedia article and my book? The answer is one. Because the Wikipedia article is based on my book, that's one source that has been resourced, if that makes any sense. So what you can do, and I would encourage you to do this, go to Wikipedia, go down to the bottom, scroll down to the bottom and look at their sources, and then go to those sources. I promise you, most Wikipedia pages on most of these actors are going to have more than one source. And one of the sources they can have or should have is this thing called the IMDb.com, Internet Movie Database. It is a website that lists every movie that anybody has ever been in. I have an IMDb page. I've been in one movie, so I have a page. But it will tell you every movie they've been in. It sometimes will tell you, and it's just a list. It doesn't tell you good, bad, or indifferent. Sometimes it will tell you the awards they've won. Again, a lot of movie stars especially have publicists who will go in and buy ads for that page. So when you go to that page, you see an ad about your actor, and it'll tell you all the awards they've won and things like that. But the database just lists the movies and or plays, not necessarily plays, it depends on who the actor is, but definitely the movies they've been in. Again, it's just a way to go and count. They've been in 7 movies, yes? And then you can research the movies and find out if any have been nominated for an Academy Award, all that sort of stuff. But the internet, IMDb.com, is a great source for most of your actors, because I assume most of your actors are famous because they have been in movies, yes? So first of all, do your research. Find yourself, if you've at least 3 sites, at least 3 sources. Again, the 3 is just the magic number. If you find 1, it could be a lie. You find 2, it might be 2 lies. You find 3, you have an agreement on the facts. And again, if you have an article that was written in 2002, it is not as up to date as an article that was written in 2020, yes? And so I would, things like number of awards, things like number of movies they've done, all that sort of stuff, I would trust the number that you might find in the more current source than the former source. But again, if your actor, favorite actor, let's say your favorite actor was, who's dead? Give me a dead actor. Who?
Sam Shepard.
Sam Shepard. Well, he's just recently dead though. But you have an actor who's been dead for a while. The information at their death might actually be more accurate because people may have forgotten other things they've done. Tony Stewart. We'll use Tony Stewart as an example. Anyway, so do your research. Find your information. You're going to need to create a bibliography at the end of the paper. And so list all those sources. I would just print the sources off personally. And then when you go through and edit your paper and highlight things and underline things, turn that in with your paper, and that way I know you haven't done the evil P thing. The evil P thing. What's the evil P thing? Plagiarism. Yes? There aren't many things that will get you kicked out of this fine institution, but plagiarism is among them. And it is a very serious educational sin. Plagiarism isn't just copying somebody else's work, it's copying the work and not giving them credit for it and acting like it's your work, yes? And so when you go through and underline your articles and highlight things and draw your little lines saying here's 1 or 2 or 3, yada, 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 I'll be able to see where you sourced your material, but I'll also see that you didn't plagiarize the material, yes? So I would go ahead and just turn them in. If you just want to turn in a list of the websites, that's fine too. They'll hyperlink, and I'll do a little research myself to figure out that you haven't plagiarized. But go do your research, find out your information, and then I'm going to show you a little what each paragraph should be. The first thing I'm going to do is, as opposed to talking about the arrows at the top and the bottom of the drawing there, I'm going to focus on the 3 inner paragraphs. Write that first. That's the body of your paper. First of all, you need to develop a thesis. Now, what's a thesis statement? Well, a thesis statement, I know where it goes. Do you know where it goes? It goes at the end of the first paragraph. You're correct. What it should do, it should be your argument about that person. And if your argument is that the person that is your favorite actor is a great actor, that's something you can argue. Yes? I think Tony Stewart is a great actor. That is your thesis. And your argument, your body of your paper is going to be set up to prove that argument. Instead of just talking about the generic, I'm going to talk about James Earl Jones. Maybe James Earl Jones was your favorite actor, maybe not. But I'm going to ruin your paper for you because I'm going to talk about him because he is one of my favorite actors. First of all, if you don't know who James Earl Jones is, here's a quick little video snippet of him being Darth Vader and Mufasa.
My son, my son, my son.
Fun, fun, fun. Here's also one of my favorite speeches. I got to include it because it's James Earl Jones. It's from Field of Dreams. Talk about baseball.
Ray, people will come, Ray. They'll come to Iowa for reasons they can't even fathom. They'll turn up your driveway, not knowing for sure why they're doing it. They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past. Of course, we won't mind if you look around, you'll say. It's only $20 per person. They'll pass over the money without even thinking about it. For it is money they have, and peace they like.
Ray, just sign the papers.
And they'll walk out to the bleachers. And sit in shirt sleeves on a perfect afternoon. They'll find they have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines where they sat when they were children and cheered their heroes. And they'll watch the game, and it'll be as if they'd dipped themselves in magic waters. The memories will be so thick, they'll have to brush them away from their faces.
Ray, when the bank opens in the morning, they'll foreclose.
People will come, Ray.
You're broke, Ray. You sell now or you lose everything.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball. America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again. But baseball has marked the time. This field, this game, it's a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again. Oh, people will come, Ray. People will most definitely come.
So, again, that's who James Earl Jones is, yes? So I've done my research on James Earl Jones. I found out that he was born in January of 1931. Amazing. He's a what does that make him, a Sagittarius? Capricorn. Now, having said that, But we'll talk more about birthdays in a little bit, but it's important to know. But I found out that he was born in Mississippi, moved to Michigan with his grandparents. I found out that he became a famous actor. He won 3 Oscars, he's won 5 Tony Awards, he's won an Emmy. So he's very talented. He's done all these movies, all these films, all these plays on Broadway. And then I also find out that James Earl Jones, as a young person, and probably still today, has a stutter, which I think is pretty amazing. For the voice of God to be somebody who stutters, that's pretty amazing to me. And so when you do your research, you might find some information that leads you to do additional research, which may alter your thesis. My thesis was that James Earl Jones is a fantastic actor. That was my thesis. But now I've got a little something that has piqued my interest about him being somebody who stutters. So I go through and I discover in his childhood, people thought he was mute. He didn't speak from the age of 6 to the age of 16. For 10 years, he didn't speak in class. He spoke to his parents and his grandparents. But he didn't speak at school because he had a stutter and he was afraid the kids were going to mock him and make fun of him. And so he had this English teacher when he was in 10th grade. He wrote this poem. And the English teacher accused him of plagiarism. He said, there's no way a 10-year-old wrote this poem. And so he called the parents in and they sat there in the principal's office. And the only way the teacher would believe that James Earl Jones wrote this poem is if James Earl Jones could recite it from memory. There aren't many times in the world I want to be on a fly on the wall. I would love to have been a fly on the wall in this situation where the voice of God, the voice of James Earl Jones, you've never heard James Earl Jones speak before. And by 10th grade, his voice hopefully had changed. And suddenly comes out James Earl Jones speaking this poem that he had written. And the English teacher was like, oh, I guess he wrote it. And in the course of reciting the poem, he didn't stutter. And he learned that if he could learn the words ahead of time, in other words, if he could be an actor and study theater, which is why he started studying theater, to improve his speech-making ability, but also to get him past his stutter. Yes? And it led to this great, fantastic career. And in 2011, he was awarded by the National Stutterers Foundation. What a horrible name for people who stutter. My goodness, can't you find a better word for somebody who has problems speaking than stutter? Stutter is hard to say for a person who doesn't stutter. But for the National Stutterers Foundation, awarded him the Monte Cristo Award, which is an award the Eugene O'Neill Foundation awards every year for civic duty, for civic responsibility, for someone who gives back to the public. So now my thesis has altered. Now I'm going to say that not only is James Earl Jones a powerful, amazing actor, but he has used himself and his training and his experience and his wealth to give back to the community, which makes him a noble person. Yes, it ennobles him. That's my new thesis. Yes? Now, be wary of hyperbole. Hyperbole is talking over the top about something, the greatest, the best, the most amazing. You want to say among. Qualifiers are wonderful, because that way, I'm not saying James Earl Jones is the greatest human ever. I'm saying he's among the greatest human. That way, if you have Angelina Jolie, for instance, I know has given back to society, that's great. She may have done as good, if not better, than James Earl Jones. That's not my thesis. My thesis is he's among the people that you can say, as opposed to many stars. You know, I mean, I could name some, but I'm not going to be cavalier that way. But you know, there are many actors who become famous and make all kinds of money and then snort it up their nose or wreck it on their highway. I mean, you know, drink and do whatever, fall off the deep end because they don't know how to handle their fame. And yet someone who has been a star in film and theater and television, who is very talented to be able to go back and also give back to the community and to those that suffer the same type of disability that he had, I think is an ennoble thing about himself. Yes? So again, that has become my thesis. So now that that's my thesis, in the body of the paper, things that used to be going to support my major point as to the fact that he was a great actor, things like number of awards that he'd won. If my thesis had only been that James Earl Jones was a great actor, the best thing and proof of he's a great actor is how many people have honored and recognized him for his achievements in acting. So that would have been my third paragraph. But now that my thesis has changed to the fact that he has gone back and contributed to society, the fact that he's a great actor is just the least important part of proving that he's a noble character. And so it has moved from the third paragraph to the first paragraph. And instead of listing all the films that he's been, I might still list that he was in Star Wars and Mufasa, voice of Mufasa, just because that helps, and I love those two movies. I might also list that he gave the speech in Field of Dreams, yes, but I would encapsulate. I would say, things like how many movies he's been in, how many television series, how many awards he's won, but that all becomes one paragraph. The second paragraph then becomes this paragraph about how he grew up in Mississippi and Michigan and had this stutter and was scared because people made fun of him. That's the second thing I need to talk about, because the third thing is he has won these awards, been honored by society, and given back to the society, which I'm going to say is the most important proof of my thesis. Yes? Now, you may not find that type of thing about your actor. You may just find that your actor did a certain number of movies, went home, maybe got divorced 5 times, you don't know. You're going to find out some things you like about the person. You're going to find out some things you probably didn't like about the person. It may be that the information that you find out changes your mind about the person, in which case your thesis might have changed from, I thought this person was a great actor, but really they're a bad person. You still have to prove that. Yes? Now, let's talk about birthdays. First of all, it's a 5-paragraph essay. If we were writing the book on James Earl Jones, a book on James Earl Jones that doesn't tell you his birthday is not worth the paper it's printed on. But I would say, unless you're somebody who's into astrology, the fact that he was born in January 17th of 1931 is probably the least important fact I can think of, because guess what? We all have been born. Yes? We've all experienced whatever it is that we've experienced through that. That changes no. Now, if your person, there were complications at the birth, and they came out and were somehow there was a woman on Broadway won a Tony Award 2 years ago for being in a wheelchair in Oklahoma, and she had complications at birth. That's a very important part of her life. If that's your favorite actor, by God, that information needs to be in your paper. But for the most of us, the person's birthday is among the facts that you should not include. You know it, you've researched it, it's in all the materials you have, but it doesn't necessarily belong in a 5-paragraph essay. Now, to some of you, not that information telling you that not to put the birthday in is going to make it so that you cannot write this paper. So here's my suggestion to you. Start the paper with James Earl Jones was born January 17, 1931, or whoever your actor is. Write the rest of the paper. Then, before you send it to me, highlight that first sentence. Hit cut. Hit send. Hit paste. Then, in your paper, you have written their birthday. And in the paper I receive, I don't have their birthday. I'm just telling you, I would rather not know than have it be some fact that arbitrarily doesn't fit into the narrative of your paper. Yes? Now, having written the body of the paper, the 3 paragraphs in the middle. Now, I'm not talking to you, those of you who know to write 5-paragraph essays. There are those of you who are good writers. You know you're a good writer. Everybody's always told you you're a good writer. You can sit down at the computer and pop out a 5-paragraph essay in 30 minutes. And it'll be letter perfect. You spell every word. You know all the sources. You got it all down. And when your head, it came on your fingers, magic. I'm not talking to you. Write your paper. Turn this off. But to those of you who haven't yet succeeded at English 1010, or who have a problem writing a well-prepared 5-paragraph essay, that's what I'm talking about. Write the body first. Why? Because then you know what you're going to say, and writing the first paragraph becomes incredibly easy because you already wrote it. You already know what you're going to say. In the first paragraph, first of all, you want to open with some sort of statement. I would open with a statement along the lines I've already said. There are a lot of people who become famous who don't know how to handle their wealth. Sentence, period. That's why I'd open it. James Earl Jones doesn't appear in the sentence, but it gets me in the ballpark. What am I going to discuss? I'm going to discuss people who are able to give back to society. Yes? Then I'm going to talk about, I may mention James Earl Jones, who grew up in a poor family, and was raised by his paternal grandparents, how his life was difficult early on, how he had a disability. I'm not necessarily going to name the disability. Don't want to ruin my thunder. Let him know as a stutterer in the first paragraph. We'll wait till the third paragraph, yes. The first paragraph, I'll just say he had a disability that he overcame, and that he then has gone back and given back to society. That's my thesis. Then I have my body built, and then after I have closed with the most amazing sentences in the history of the world, you've literally moved me to tears in proof of your thesis. At the end of the paper, you want to add your fifth paragraph, which is going to gently wake me from my dream. I'm going to be so enthralled with what it is that you've said about your actor. I can't imagine another actor being the greatest actor in the history of the world other than your actor, because you have convinced me so solidly that the performances they gave have moved the world so much that your actor is the best actor in the history of the world. Tears rolling down my face. And you need to gently remind me in the final paragraph, this is what I was going to prove. I told you that he was a great guy. He's given back. He's been honored by the Stutterers Association. I'll try not to laugh at that. And then remind me where we've been. Ladies, I'm going to tell you something. Men have no memory. By the time I get to the fifth paragraph, I'm going to forget what you've told me. Yes? It's the reason we have to watch replays of football. You know, they just showed the 2006 championship game between Texas and USC. I watched the entire game. Why? Because I didn't remember who won. I won. Texas won. Yeah, I know. Anyway, it's the reason you have to have that replay, because men forget it. Yes? We are never going to remember your birthday. We're never going to remember our anniversary. Thank God for Facebook, because it pops up every day, everybody's birthday in my life. So I act like I know where everybody's birthday is. Happy birthday. Thank God for Facebook. Anyway, so remind me where the journey we've been on. All right. Now, let's talk about the last sentence in the paper. I know some of you are going to be smart alecks, and you're going to save the birthday for the last sentence. Fine. If that's where you got to put it there and go na 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 na. However, the last sentence is much like a dessert. In case you couldn't tell, because I know I'm so slim behind this podium, I might enjoy a beverage and a meal occasionally. I don't know if you've ever been to Lex Taste of Thailand downtown, but it is incredible food. One of the best restaurants in town. Hopefully it'll reopen soon. At the end of the meal, they bring the bill, and they put a little orange Tic Tac thing in a little wrapper on the bill. And I'm telling you, you have that little spicy curry chicken, you know, and you eat that little orange Tic Tac, and I mean, it explodes. It is orgasmic in your mouth. It is the best thing you've ever put in your mouth. And you don't care what the tip is, you don't care what the bill is, because you've experienced this orange flavor rushing through your system. Yes? Well, you know me, on the way out, there was a little bowl full of these little orange Tic Tac things, and so I grabbed like 50 of them and stuck in my pocket. Like 3 days later, I went through and opened it up and popped it in, and it's an orange Tic Tac. In other words, you had to have the entire experience of the meal in order for the Tic Tac to have its effect. There's a place called TGI Fridays. TGI Fridays, men, let me tell you something about women. Women love chocolate. They're going to deny they do, but they love chocolate. I have 2 daughters and my wife, and they all head over heels over chocolate. So of course TGI Fridays has this dessert called Death by Chocolate. And of course you've got to get it because, did I mention women like chocolate? And so they bring out this 7-layer chocolate cake, a quarter of a 7-layer chocolate cake with 3 huge scoops of chocolate ice cream, with chocolate fudge dribbled over everything. The 4 of us start eating on this monstrosity. We get about halfway through, and of course there are starving people in the world, so you got to finish this thing. What did we have for dinner? I have no idea. All I can remember is this chocolate monstrosity I've been trying to get through. The point is, the last sentence can ruin an otherwise perfect paper. If it's too coy, if it's too over the top, I think we've probably all been to movies where the ending suddenly happened, you're like, oh, of course it's aliens. Why did it have to be aliens? Can't you people come up with something other than aliens? And it just ruins the rest of the film. You thought, well, this can be interesting, but then the best choice they have are aliens. And so it's better to just leave off just end. If you must put their birthday, then you can haunt me for the rest of my life by putting their birthday on there. Now, again, for those of you who are good writers, the clincher, the last sentence, the clincher, if it leads back somehow to the beginning of the paper, it circles around. If whatever it is you said in the first sentence of the paper somehow is reflected in the last sentence of the paper, and suddenly it's a complete circle, that nirvana. Yes, you will not have a problem with passing college. For the rest of you, if you just learn to have an opinion, to have an idea, to have a thesis, and learn to support the thesis, doesn't matter whether you're in science, in math, doesn't matter what the place you are, what we're looking for is a person who's able to think for themselves, to develop their own ideas about things, and then to give us rational reasons why that is a better thought than anything else we could have thought. Yes? So those are the two papers you need to turn into me. One is an analysis of the play that I've assigned to you, and one is a 5-paragraph essay of the actor that is your favorite actor that you're going to tell me who that person is. Yes? Now, if you don't have a favorite actor, make it about a famous actor. Tom Hanks, I don't know. So pick somebody. It doesn't have to be your favorite. It's better if it's your favorite because at least you'll enjoy writing the paper. But it doesn't have to be. Just an actor out there that you may have not have known. Probably not James Earl Jones because I've already written the paper for you. All right. So those are the two papers. Again, the test, I will give you a review sheet before each test. We'll go through and there will be nothing on the test that is not on the review sheet, so you don't have to worry about that. Again, I'll try and give you a lecture along with the notes for each class period. If you have any questions or problems, please feel free to email me. Here's my email right here. Isn't that where it is? Right there? Yeah, nice. I will respond as fast and as quickly as I can. I think it's going to be a pleasure to try and do this. We'll see how far we make it, but I'm excited by the challenge. And again, if there's anything else I can do for you, just let me know. Thank you very much. I'm glad to have you in the class.